My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore. So, Jimmy Dore has been a strident anti-war voice. Whatever you want to think about Jimmy Dore. And I know there's some people who don't particularly like him. This channel likes him. He's been a friend of the show. He's been on the show several times. And I've covered his content on occasion. On this particular case, I want to give a shout out because Jimmy Dore has gone international. What do I mean by Jimmy Dore has gone international? Take a look at this. This is Bob the Great Curly on Twitter. Put this out. I want you to notice something. That's not English. And if you notice here, this is like a state media or like a media organization. It is. What you're looking at is an airport. Not just any airport, Meribah Airport. Now your first question is, what the hell is Meribah Airport? Meribah Airport is one of two airports in Tehran. Tehran. What you're seeing here is the airport in Tehran showing the Jimmy Dore show. The airport in Tehran is showing the Jimmy Dore show. Jimmy Dore has gone international. That's amazing. Look, I don't know what video that is, but if it sounds anything like this video.
Okay, so you know what's happening with Iran. So here's what's happening. We showed you this before. This is a guy named Pat Clausen, and this is how these guys talk openly. And so and this is what he says about Iran.
I frankly think that crisis initiation is really tough.
Crisis initiation. So that's Orwellian speak for how do we start a war with a country we want to invade and steal their natural resources? How do we do that?
Now, I don't know the video that they're using here. Meaning, I don't know what Jimmy Dore is saying in this particular video that Iran media is using. But if it sounds anything like the last video that I just showed you, then excellent and good. I co-sign whatever he's saying on that because, look, we are trying to knock that country down. We have taken provocative and aggressive action, belligerent action in regards to Iran. Not to mention the toppling of the government and all this other. I mean, come on. We don't have a leg to stand on here in regards to what we've been doing to create and foment a war with that country. If Dore is saying anything like he was saying in the video that I just showed you, good. Good. And shout out to Dore for getting that level of international recognition. A few points that we need to talk about. One, these countries are at conflict. Now, between the countries being at conflict, the United States hasn't necessarily ramped up on a war footing, but from the perspective of Iran, they are taking the brunt and the boot of American policy, meaning tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, have died based on the sanctions that we have been implementing in that country, meaning cutting the oil imports and so forth, and marshaling the other companies around the world to not do business with that country. We're killing people based on our policies. From the standpoint of Iran, they are at war. Understand, there's a difference in those things. Your country is under belligerent action from a foreign adversary, that adversary being a superpower. From the standpoint of your country and the government of that country, you are on, to some degree, a wartime footing. At the very least in the way that you're using media to govern and talk to your country. Look back at what the United States was when it was at war. We put people in prison when they were talking against the war aims. So Britain was the same way. So understand what I mean when I say that country, even though we don't see it because we play our Xbox, we go about our way, we only have 1% of the military or our forces involved in the military, but they're not in that situation, nor can they be in that situation because you have a belligerent superpower trying to knock down their government. They will marshal whatever they can that is at their disposal to try to, let's say, give a certain amount of propaganda to the population because of such. I'm trying to get you to look at this from both perspectives. From the perspective of this country, also the perspective of that country and why that government will show a Jimmy Dore clip. I hope you understand what I mean. That's the first point. Well, that's the second point. Yes, and I have no issue with that. Because, there's a certain degree of propaganda that goes into the way governments talk to their populations. And in this case, they're showing a clip of Dore that's probably a strong anti-war clip. And is probably even further pointing to the provocative actions of the United States in regards to trying to fulminate war against their country. It is important that your population knows that your government isn't entirely lying to you when it's saying that the government of the United States is taking provocative action and that Western powers are taking provocative action. It is important for the population of your country to know that there are other people out there saying it that is a part of their other Western country. Meaning, my point is this: it is important for your population to know that your government is not entirely lying when it's saying that Western powers are taking provocative action to topple your government. That's important. Yes, it's propaganda. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's not true. Especially in this case. It is. Also, I have no issue with that. If Rudy Giuliani and John Bolton can go out there and give speeches trying to topple and kill and maim and use the useful idiot bravery of our military in order to murder a lot of people, just like they did in Iraq, where they end up killing 1 million people, and we've been in those wars for years, then I have not the slightest issue with Dore being used to get across this notion that those countries are in fact doing that again. And not just doing that again, that there are people in the United States gyrating and pushing hard against the bullshit that the mainstream media and the political elites are selling. I have not the slightest issue with them using Dore to marshal that particular aim of getting that across. There's also something else important that I find with this clip. That it is understood that not everybody is on board for what is taking place. That there are elements within the United States, within the West for that matter, that are strong anti-war voices that are strident and understand the history of the U.S. in this regard and understand what it is doing now and is pushing against it and fomenting against it. I'm glad that it's being put out there. I'm glad that it's not this notion that there is a solitary voice on this particular issue. And again, shout out to Jimmy Dore for getting recognition on this point. I get it, it's a little weird that Iran media is using this, but it's not really weird if you look at it from their context. In their context, a Western power, a superpower, is trying to topple their government. They are under siege. And as you're under siege, you have to talk to your population. You have to get your population on board for what is taking place and what is going on. And you have to put that population on a certain, oddly enough, war footing, even though you're not technically in some kind of shooting war. They're using whatever they can to marshal to their aim. And in this case, there's a strong anti-war voice in one Mr. Jimmy Dore. It's weird seeing this because it's a YouTube show. But shout out to getting recognition. Jimmy Dore does good work on the anti-war issue. Shout out. Again, strange, but not if you're looking at it from their situation. Good job, Dore. Good job. Good job. I'm not going to keep this long because there's not much, but I just wanted to point out this is cool. Chris Walsh, they've been out of Jimmy Dore for ages. I watch Press TV regularly. It's an exact counterbalance to mainstream media. Nice, nice. Jamarl and Jimmy Dore, always. I like them, if that's what you mean. Press TV is non-fake news. Fair enough. But I guess my point is, shout out to Dore for getting recognition on this. I mean, look, I think it's something to be said that when people do a good job, they should get recognition for the good job that they do. And having yourself shown in the airport is some indication that what you're doing, well, that's not an indication that what you're doing is good. But at the very least, it's getting recognition for something that you're doing. And in me pointing out whatever video that they're showing, if that video is an anti-war video, especially in regards to talking about what the U.S. is doing in the context of Iran. More power to him. Good job. Like and share. Thanks all.